Before we get started, a couple quick notes. This was written, voiced, and characterized a bit after Christmas. It's a bit behind on my part, mostly because of family, etc., so the timeline that I have within here is way off. I still wanted to make it, I didn't want to alter it in its form whatsoever, but I hope you guys still do enjoy it, that all being said. But really, for the more important piece and the extra note that I really did want to talk about before we got going with today's episode, is this. Our world is quite literally on fire, or at least a large piece of it is. Australia continues to be nothing but a massive forest and brush fire, and the policymakers seem to be offering little to no help for those in that part of the world. An estimated 480 million animals are possibly lost, with thousands on thousands displaced from loss of home or otherwise, and they have been since the holidays officially closed up. The Australian and New Zealand Destiny communities are trying their best to spread awareness of the issue to fellow Guardians and are attempting to help with relief efforts. I know it's right after the holidays, but please, if you're able to give, please do so. If not, at least share around the links I'll have below. I'm sorry to take up so much time on the start of all of this with everything else that's going on, but this is far too important to not talk about. For anybody that's also been a long-time viewer of the show, you know that Mylan Games is somebody that's been close to my heart since I really got started, and that's all because he helped me out as much as he has. The Australian group overall means a lot to me, and it would mean a ton to me if you guys could help them out as well. Thank you for listening to this message. Again, I'll have links below in the first pinned comment for you to reference. I hope you enjoy the episode. I promise, it's a little bit more uplifting than this will be. You know, I have to give Eva Levante an apology. First, I called her a crazy lady that just wants to make food out of Guardians. I called her weird for her off behaviors in Festival of the Lost. I called her a hidden, given all the odd behaviors and such. I mean, why does an artist need Cabal War information? Anyway, I also declared her dead after the Red War, and then suddenly, she was back. Thankfully. I mean, she's a good person, a good character, a good fictional character, if you will. She's a fun individual that has a lot of heart behind her. She's a family lady. Problem is, she lost pretty much her entire family. But that she still has heart and hasn't given up says a lot for her. Still, there is something odd about Eva Levante. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe if we talk it out, I might be able to. Hey everybody, it's your buddy Beard Grizzly, and can the holidays be over? Please? For the love of all things The Traveler, I am so over them already. I feel like a straight Scrooge talking about it like this. Each year it just feels like it gets worse and worse. Just no more holidays, ever. No more things to make you think you have to participate in them or you're not a good worker ant. Golly. It makes me wonder if I care for or agree with the character of Eva Levante, but I mean, she is fictional. But even her fictional background causes me to pause and make me wonder if I am just a jaded old man. Then again, Eva's an old lady, and no, put the fan fiction down, you dirty Tumblr babies. No one needs that. I never did cover the second half of the lore book called Eva's Journey. I know it's been around for a while, so I'll just give a general summation of what it is, and I'm sure those that wanted to give it a read already have. But I'll keep it on the screen for those entries that I didn't really cover or missed. I'll leave that last video on Eva in the link in the cards in the top right as well, just in case you need a further refresher. Where we last left our heroine, she had seen a flash of white light. What was originally thought as the passing of her life for the Traveler cracking open was one of these jackholes. Because I don't need to be reminded that I get flashed with bright light whenever the missiles explode in my face. This all sounds like further fanfiction material and I'm gonna just move on. Though, I'm thankful that Bungie gives me the time to prepare for the headache that they're going to give me as I see those missiles generally fly towards my face. Slowly but surely. If I ever get hit with an actual flashbang, I'm done, I have a feeling. Anyway, Eva was rescued by some of the Guardian pals she had made over the Red War and was taken back to the farm to recover, suffering from a couple of massive injuries, most of which were caused by her firing a shotgun to protect herself. She was visited off and on by Devrim and a few others, some from the city. She still managed logistics around the farm, especially with the events of the Red War calming down, but she also ensured that services between the farm and tower went all right. Till everything really just sort of calmed down and nobody cared about Tyra anymore. Again, poor Tyra. But she had an issue. She wasn't sure she could go back home to the city after what she witnessed and saw the block that her family resided in being blown apart from the Cabal. I can empathize with that feeling, at the least. Bad memories, loose ties, not being able to say goodbye to loved ones. Yeah. That's a piece of the grieving process that Eva was never really afforded. She was thrown into the Red War with little time to catch her breath. After all, survival of a species, of humanity, occupied her and many others' minds and actions in the Resistance. Eventually, Tess Everest convinced her to come back to the tower, and with her, the Festival of the Lost returned in full bloom, along with the Dawning. We got her side of the story as the years have gone by, and her take on events as they happen in Forsaken and elsewhere on the system. It's an outside-looking-in kind of perspective, and it shows the value of that word, perspective, to an even larger degree. Most of this can be found in the book entitled Dawning Delights, of which has also received some new entries this year with the Dawning as well. Alright, I think that's all the old info, or as much as I want to cover. Gives us plenty of a reminder for Eva, and though I think her messages are good to consider and think of as the holidays are in full swing, it's her actions that are always interesting. Well, interesting is probably the wrong word. Questionable? Odd? Weird? Open to interpretation? Yeah, interesting. We'll go with that. There is one facet of Eva Levante that makes her stand out. She's a major socialite. Gossip, news, stories, whatever you want to call it or relate it to, Eva is all about that sweet, sweet gossip. She enjoys the tales the Guardians tell her and those that others around the city have for her. Something tells me she has a coin slot that says, "Insert gossip here for a new event to happen," and it probably does. All kidding aside, though, she does try to work through the rumor and gossip and so on to fabricate and figure out the actual story that's being told, so I give her credit for that. She does similar work to what I attempt to do. She doesn't always nail it, but she tries her best. Still, this gossip goes from knowing more about individuals around the city and the tower to hearing about those outside of it as well. One entry I recall is that of her recollections of Spider and how wildly twisted they were from reality and the events that we took part in during Forsaken's main campaign. I mean, the thing she has in mind is not the Fallen we know, but a literal spider. Eva, look, we know some crazy things are out there in the system. I get it. We get it. But if you think there's a spider that size out there, you don't think some arachnophobe wouldn't have come along and burned it all down at this point already? Yeah, I just wanted to be the voice of reason here for a second. But then there's Callus and the dig she might have given his way this year. Though this is more of an overarching example of how gift-giving generally is, and how giving a gift may not always be because someone's not asking for others out for help or something later on. You know, Eva, I'm trying to do better with trusting others, and you make that a bit hard. But on a serious note, Callus fits the bill of this entry all too well, and I do want to give it a read all the same. I think some of the portions that you'll find in this entry make a lot of sense with like the references to gold and stuff like that. Anyway. The Dawning is a time of great generosity and gift-giving. It feels very good to receive a gift, especially a thoughtful one that was chosen for you by someone you care for. If you approach gift-giving with love and a selfless heart, it deepens your relationship to another person. As I'm sure you know by now, it is as rewarding to give a gift as to receive it. When you find yourself receiving many gifts, maybe unexpectedly, look to the giver. Have you given them anything? Gift-giving is not scorekeeping, but when you are showered with luxurious gifts made of gold, engraved with your name, lavished upon with great bouts of flattery, stop and think about why you have received them. Sometimes you should question these gifts. Consider who the gift giver has favored before. Why you? Why now? If you have no satisfying or reassuring answer to these questions, the chances are good that this gift giver is carefully tallying your debts and will one day move to collect them. Not all gifts are given freely. Remember that. That's all, my dear friend. I have no story this time. Just a warning. Again, it could go either way. It could just be a general warning or otherwise, but I think of this for Callus over most other individuals we come in contact with in the system. For the Awoken, it's a case of making sure they survive, and they offer up help to us a bit easier now more than ever thanks to Petra Venge being at the lead, or at least partial helm of the Awoken people, of course us assisting with the Dreaming City and so on. Drifter openly and freely admits he needs something from us in order for us to get paid. Spider, well, favors for favors. Quid pro quo before you go. Could turn that last one into a little song. Anyway, Callus just sort of is. He gives us things for no other reason than to try and woo us to his ways, and will for no other reason than he's seen the end coming and he wants to hole up in his room, lock the door, and play loud goth punk for the next century. Look, I went through that phase, okay? I get it. It's okay if you've gone through it too. But speaking of the Drifter, Eva's commented on him as well and said not to trust him. In a lot of rights and ways, I'd say that she's still very vindicated in that sense, because we know that Drifter's a wily cat that you can't just openly trust. At arm's length, maybe, but not directly. Python's new lore entry should be enough proof of that in all reality, thanks to how Drifter handles trust. I do recommend to give that one a read, and I'll actually keep that up on the screen for a little while here. Eva, and I feel all the lore entries and so on related to her, is all about world building. That's her purpose as a character. Her general character is presented to us to showcase just how the world is around the Guardians, especially when we don't fully interact with and understand what's totally going on with humanity, or any other circle that we're protecting through the system. We see a small portion of life in Soul. We're pretty busy earning loot to always interact with others. Except for that ramen shop. That's always a small corner of home for us. Well, talking about this still hasn't really made much sense for what feels off about Eva. She still feels like a nice old grandma that just wants to give out presents and fun laughs to those in need of them. I mean, same kind of idea as what happened with my grandparents in a lot of rights. Just, sugar the kids up and send them home. That's the whole purpose, to make the kids have a headache for the rest of the night, right? Yeah, totally proper. Anyway, so why am I feeling off with Eva? I mean, more so than Drifter. That's a feat in and of itself. She's highly protective of her family, but she does what she needs to in order for the dawning revelry, Festival of the Lost, and whatever else we have go on around us to work and keep working. She's a bit of a slave driver to the frames of the city, however, and tells them to set up all the gifts and decorations that she has. In some ways, I think they just get beat up a little bit too much, the poor things. All they just want to do is serve the benevolent Callus. Wait a second. It's that gossip line, though. She connects with so many people, it's almost like she's part of the mob or something. Wait, that's it. Every single cohort we've had has been questioned by Eva and made for us to think about what we might be doing with them. She has this odd sense of Callus, but yet she does the same thing. She gives out gifts for no other reason than to do so. It's like she's the only one that can shower us with presents and so on. She tells us to be wary of Drifter, but he's given us some line to understand the dark and use it to our own personal gains more than anyone else has, along with Shin Malfur and the Dredgens. She's seemingly okay with Ada 1, but doesn't remark on her ability to craft equipment. It's like she doesn't know yet. And even those that watch from the sidelines of the city's festivities. She tries to get them into the ceremonies all the same in service to what exactly? How many of those guardians are just there to run strikes and that's it? To keep serving the city as best as they can? I mean, Zavala only has a new mission for us every year, it seems, but that's beside the point. The only one she doesn't have a clear image of is Spider? What if this is just a way to keep her understanding of him to a minimum? What if it's just misdirection? What if they're in league with each other? It makes sense now. Yes! She invites you in for tea, but the moment you don't support or agree with her ways, she knifes you in the gut and gives your ghost to Spider. That's why he has so many of them. What's the matter, Guardian? You have problems with how I run the Dawning? Let me discuss it over with you with a cup of tea. Maybe never, Eva. See you later. Even then, it isn't just us. She wants to run it all. She wants to be the only one to hand out gifts and prezzies to the kids and guardians of the city. I mean, she views some of us as her grandchildren after all. She wants to run the family and be the head of it. She'll go so far as to set her sights on the Leviathan and dunk Callus back into the void whence he came. He better hope she doesn't figure out what nether realm he's been going to and hiding in all this time. She casts more doubt on Drifter. She doesn't say a word about Ada because she has no idea what she does for the tower. She makes fun of Osiris and a little bit of Eris for taking us away from the city and her plans. It all makes sense now. But then, what is her game? I mean, if it's not making Super Black and candy out of Guardians, then what is it? Oh no. She is in the body harvesting business, but it's the bodies of our enemies. Ether cane, Cabal oil, taken butter? Just how safe is any of this to eat? Even then, who would be her biggest custom? Oh, but it is a bunch of misdirection. How would Eva be able to stay in business if it wasn't for someone paying for the things we gather for her? It's just her legitimate businesses. It's Eva's way of making sure we keep coming back to her to run this obsession she has. And of course it's the mob. With Lysander out of the picture and has been for years, this has been her way of moving in and making sure she can run something similar. Like Lysander, she pokes fun at and brings up the faults of Osiris. She makes it seem like she's the only one that can give us gifts and make them work for us. Just like Lysander says, each guardian wants something. Greater speed, a rare weapon, a secret. Learn what it is. Use it. Eva's just over here in her new corner, right above the grand poobah of It's Easy Math Guardian, figuring out what kind of junk we love to hunt for, sticking subpar guns in a box for us from cookies we deliver to Zavala to chunk for him for his own good in a hope to actually get a good roll on this game on the tail end of 2019. Okay, some ramp might have slipped out into that analysis, but you get the idea. Eva's controlling everything. Absolutely everything. Eva's become... She's become the godmother. Nah, that's just silly. Oh well, I'm sure I'm just thinking and taking things too far like I always do. I mean, for all I know, she really is just a nice old lady that enjoys making people smile. Yeah, I'm sure that's all it is. But hey, you guys let me know what you think below. Do you think there's more evidence exposing Eva for what she truly is? Do you think I'm just out of my mind? Did you just not get the joke? I mean, any of these are fine, and then some. But on a serious note, I know things have been weird with the holiday season. Sounds like, for a lot of you as well, things have been a little weird too. I hope that things settle down and calm down finally for all of you soon, and I was able to make you smile, even for a little while. Thank you again for another wonderful year. I have one more episode I'd like to get for you guys. It's a bit short from what we had from the Dawning, but that probably won't be until after New Year's hits. Thank you again for everything, and to all of you, no matter when or where you are, I'll see you next space time. Take care.